And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. The boss switch is back. I am filling in with I'm filling in for PD York, who decided to spend time with his wife. As weird as that is. But we just got back from watching Skeleton Crew, and yeah, man, this episode raises the stakes a little bit. I was I've been enjoying the series so far. I've been feeling the good vibes from this series, and I'm glad they're continuing on.
Well, dude, for me, this series is why I've never wholly committed to not quitting Star Wars. This is the part of Star Wars they talk about, like the hope in the darkness. And it's like, man, sometimes you lose hope. And man, have I seen a lot of fellow Jedi like fall to the dark side. But I've unfortunately stuck in and watched everything. Every new show, I've watched every season once. And now Skeleton Crew is like, this is what we were asking for the whole time. Like, this could have been what the Rey movie was about. It literally could have been the Rey trilogy was actually the Goonies in Space trilogy.
Right.
And it was like a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, except it's Goonies in space. And so Jude Law suddenly is actually Aragorn, and these kids are Frodo, but none of them are carrying the burden of the One Ring. But now we get a Return of the King who is actually a pirate vagabond for a while. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You could have made a really good trilogy off of that. This show has that potential. Like, where's the Rey trilogy? Had nothing. Where's Acolyte? Had nothing. Like, I keep going back to those because, like,
they were just such blights on the series.
Well, to me, it's like going back to school. Like, you can't just say what good and bad is. You have to demonstrate it, compare and contrast. And I finally love having, because before the compare and contrast was like, well, there's this really great cartoon. And it's like, obviously it got low ratings. Like, it was written for a target audience and sold specifically to that target audience, and they never really branched out of the target audience. Except they did the Pixar thing. They aged with their audience. Like, you can very much see the themes of the show growing up through seasons. Whereas, like, again, like the Acolyte, they just wanted to jump right in, tell you everything, and also like tell you what the rules are. I really like in the last episode, before tonight's episode in Skeleton Crew, when she goes, I thought Jedi never left a man behind. And he's like, first of all, it's a droid. Second of all, that's not a Jedi thing. Like,
that's it.
It's a U.S. Army thing.
Yeah. That's more Marine Corps, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Army started saying it after they left a bunch of people in Korea and the Marines carried them home.
Well, yeah, right.
But I mean, and that's, to me, like, that was the thing the Acolyte kept doing. The Acolyte kept being that little girl going, no, don't Jedi never attack in a public space? Don't Jedi never draw their saber unless they want to kill? Don't Jedi. And it's like, no. And that's what Jude Law literally did on screen. Like, that's what we've all been doing is, no, it's not like that. The Jedi have a known history, but now their history is way more myth, especially in this timeline, except for these kids. These kids are a representation of
a time before.
Well, like, they grew up listening to the active stories of active good deeds by Jedi. And for all they know, they're ongoing. Like, they don't know when the story stopped. They just know that, like, a new book hasn't entered the library in a while.
Right. And, when you actually think about it, I would almost argue that this series and the Fallout TV series have a lot in common. These kids are vault dwellers. Right? these kids were raised when the Republic was still in charge and pre-Clone Wars, and they were raised with all those values, right?
Not only that, for everything that we know, we have no idea which old Republic these kids are from.
Well, there's that piece too, right?
That's the really cool piece, because like I was talking about it. Were you here for 2 weeks ago?
No, I wasn't able to make it, right?
Right. But you played Jedi Survivor, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and so you remember how you have to go find the hidden planet, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like this is, and that quest was like right the ancient Jedi quest before the fall of the Jedi Temple, like fall of Revan type Jedi quest. Right. So that's to me kind of what Adam could be, is fall of Revan, Knights of the Old Republic, Hidden Jewel, because some of them failed and some of them succeeded. And that's what tonight's episode was like. See, some of them succeeded at being hidden.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It makes, because we only get like tastes of Adam again, like we go home and we see the parents, and it's honestly, it's like a Star Wars-esque Earth. And it's as shut off from the rest of the galaxy as Earth is, for all the people are concerned, right? But in that, like, it's, part of me wonders, like, we in this episode we see, and this is a spoiler for anybody who's like really
concerned
late because you haven't watched the episode with us like we told you to. But the end of the episode, we see pillars of the other planets, just like at the end of the last episode we saw a scroll of the 7 or 9 planets that were
like hidden worlds or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And like the way it's described in this one scroll is these are the hidden jewels. But like, if you think about it, and this is really where like the Acolyte, you go, if you think about it, and then in the next episode they explain it to you and you're like, that's such a weak version of what I was trying to think about.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
but
like
this show has potential to be like actually respectful, where like you think about it and it's like there's so much between the light and the dark. Like, who hid this planet?
And why, right? Like,
and when, like, all of the who, what, when, where, whys are, especially because of the way they're like teasing it, right? Like, this is how you tease. The idea of it being old, like pre-Republic, like pre-Palpatine Republic, old Republic.
Yep.
Means that like it was hidden because of its force. Right? Like the Revan Empire fall, that world was actually like the most, like as far as we've been seeing demonstrated, that was the most force directed, for like the force empires existed at that time, right? And so they had like basically, where are you gonna hide a planet full of Anakins? Like pure force babies? That's actually a potential.
Well, they had the Old Republic had machines that interacted with the Force. Right? That was like the big thing in the Old Republic. So perhaps, but they were usually massive machines, right? So
no, like if we use the game logic, they were everything. Like they were the inspiration for Astromechs and everything else.
Right. Like the reason why Astromechs exist was because they hooked Force users up to machines who could use their Force sight to see where the hyperspace lanes were. That was initially how it got going. Right? And then you've got they used force-powered machines to build star fleets. They used force-powered machines to wipe out planets in the Old Republic. It could be that. It could be At-Aten. It was a planet with some sort of massive potential attached to it, right? That they were like running some sort of experiment on the populace, and they wanted to keep them safe.
Okay, right? So I know that you're hosting, but you failed to do the homework despite being the host. And I didn't want to call you out, but it was kind of teased in this one. Like your vault terminology nailed it, because on the planet they land on, because so the owl chick helped them get close, right? Like whittled down 99.9% of the options, which in a galaxy of infinites,
that's not bad.
Right? And it had a lot to do with like their description of home, and the owl like being an I don't know what that is. Is that an astronomer or is that an astrologer? Because like she was staring at the stars and charting the stars.
Well, astrology is about finding like meaning in the movements of the planets. This would be an astronomer, but I would actually argue that she's an astrogator, somebody who navigates the stars, like finds navigational pathways through the stars.
So she's an astronomer.
Astro navigator.
What's cartographer, right?
Yeah,
so an
stellar cartographer. Yeah,
stellar cartographer. That's the one.
Yeah,
right. Because the funny thing is, in every other space show, that's like an ethnic black chick that like they found from Harlem, who rose to the top secretly. But in this one, they're like, no, it's just like a Star Wars owl person. Like, who else is gonna hang out all night?
Yeah, watching the stars.
Oh, right, owls, right. Oh, easy. Let's make that a creature real quick. And it's like, is that going to cost us anything to the diehards?
No,
that makes sense. Nailed it.
The diehards are actually going to be like, man, this is a great little like puppet character, right?
Wait,
like,
are we going to find owl characters in the next Jedi Survivor 3?
I hope so.
Dude, like that's how you do hidden star charts.
Right.
Like that's your crow's nest from Ubisoft's video games, right? Where you have to go in Eagle's Nest, the Assassin's Creed ones, and you get the map. Dude, go find your owl, moon owl. So you got to land on a random moon, land on the dark side, find their little hideout because they're hiding in the dark side intentionally.
Yep.
It adds up. It's really clever game mechanic.
Yeah.
I feel like George Lucas has the most game mechanics of all of them in his like actual universe.
His way of thinking about it. Yeah. So, no, man, going over this whole series though so far, it is absolutely followed the classic adventure setup that Star Wars has always promised, right? We have the kid that's growing up on a backwater. There's this call to adventure where they have to leave their home. They have to learn how to do stuff and make the mistakes along the way. They even have a mentor figure who's, iffy on the reliability. We're not really sure where they fall on reliability. Everything is adding up in this. It's actually also why I am more than a little worried about Jude Law's character to make it to the end of the series. Right? I am a little concerned about that because I don't know if Jude Law's character is going to make it, if only because, Star Wars has a tendency to wipe out their mentors or their mentor characters.
Dude, Jude Law, this episode really set his character in perspective. He is not a mentor. He is a Han Solo.
Right. Okay. But then, even then, Han Solos aren't exactly always
known as have a tendency to kill Han Solo.
Yeah.
Because even in Skeleton Crew, like Hondo,
Yeah.
just rode off into the sunset one episode. We never saw him again.
True.
Even the Hat dude. Man, I just forgot his name. I just watched him. Bane.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Like, I don't think he rode off into the sunset directly, but like, I want to say he wasn't killed until Boba Fett.
Yeah. Cad Bane. Yes.
Cad Bane, yeah. And like, I mean, even Ventress, dude, she did an appearance in Rebels and then an appearance in
Clone
Bad
Wars.
Batch season 3.
Or Bad Batch, yeah.
She's like, right now I'm on her, I don't know what to call her arc, but it's kind of like her witch arc. She's not going good side, like, let me go be a nerd. But she's like, I don't have to just hurt people.
She's playing the I don't have to be good. I don't have to be in the good guy, bad guy dynamics.
Well, no,
I can find my own way.
Only hurt people. Because like she very much is still like a scoundrel. Yeah. She's going to the scoundrel phase. That's what it is. Because she skipped over Bounty Hunter in one episode arc.
Right? That was the fastest arc.
But honestly, like this is what I mean by like game mechanics. The characters and their creeds and codes are so specific and transparent. Like bounty hunters are just really reckless Jedi Sith.
Yep.
Like the dark side of Jedi, because they're enforcers. In most cases, Jedi are just like, you don't have to kill. And they're like, no, I don't, but I will if I have to. And they're like, no, but you never have to because you can be better.
And it's, yes, I can be better. Do I choose to be better today? That's a different matter. So, no, man, I mean, I think there's all kinds of potential here. I am loving where this series is going. I'm loving the attitude of the characters. Sometimes it feels a little, Treasure Island-y or Treasure Planet-y, whatever you want to call it. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
No, because to me, like, this is the part about the Star Wars universe that I've always wanted, because we need the the Shakespeare in Star Wars. Like, if you notice, any long-running show eventually starts doing all the greats in their own verse.
True.
And I feel like Shakespeare's equivalent, like a classic that belongs in Star Wars, is Treasure Planet. Like,
yeah, I get you.
And I feel like to do that with the Goonies and reverse it is just way more fun. And it has been so far. Like every episode, I'm like, okay, I want next week already. Like,
I think that is the number one thing to say about this series. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the number one most important piece about this is it's just fun. It's
4 episodes in, I'm not at a dud yet.
Yeah, and like we're not sitting there worried about socio-political commentary. We're not arguing about, racism, sexism, or like class dynamics or anything like that. Dude, we're just enjoying pirates and space ninjas, man.
Bro, we had again, spoiler alert.
Yeah, do it.
We had the main boss bitch, captain of the ship, chick who's been running on her own supply the whole time. And she melts down when they find the star chart for Adad destroyed. And the droid is like, oh, I did that. And he's like, but I can't say anything about Aden. I can't say I remember anything about Aden. And she like has a full-on teenage girl meltdown pity party, but like reasonably so. Like one that you have when you're scared, but still storms off on her own. And like the little boy, I can't remember his name, but he goes to like help her and like console her. And he's like, what are we doing next, Captain? Like, it's okay. Like, we're stuck. Yes, but we've always been stuck. But this is the closest we've ever been. Like, we're officially not crazy.
Yep.
Right? Because they found, it says at Aden, but the chart itself is destroyed.
Yeah.
And she's like, she cries about it. She's like, I screwed everything up. I don't know what to do. We're all lost. And then she's like, I have a brilliant idea. And we're like, oh my God, okay. She comes to save the day. Dude, she screws everything up. And I'm not going to spoil it because it's a pretty good scene, but she screws everything up. And that's how the episode ends. Like her revelation, like he goes to console her, she hero ups, but wrong.
And you know what,
and
though?
Like,
that's
What's
important.
supposed to happen.
That's it. That's an important part, is they occasionally fall on their face. That needs to be there.
The captain has to go into the abyss. Needless to say about everybody else, but whoever claims to be, whoever you want to make the leader, as the writer, whoever you decide is going to be the one in charge, they have to go through the worst of it. And boy, howdy, did she just walk off into the abyss in this episode at the end. And it's great because, like, we have the first Jedi princess.
That's it.
Like, we don't even know if she's Force sensitive, but like, to me, that's kind of why I throw that out there, is because like all the things they're clearly not stealing, but like all their references, all of their source material for their set and setting and how they made this story work. Jedi Survivor 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the correlation instantly. Like, we saw what was trying to be done at one point by the Jedi specifically. Like, they were trying to hide the Jedi children. And like the Force, the super sensitive. So like, that's why by the time Anakin shows up, like, he is 1 in a million.
Yeah.
But like back during Revan days, he was few and far between. Like, everybody, he was a dime a dozen kind of kid because the Force was very prevalent. But like Revan, the Sith empires, the plurality that they were, was everywhere, you know? And I feel like these are the parts of Star Wars that like everybody was asking for.
Yeah. That's ultimately the best takeaway from this is what we've been pleading for, is just a return to good, solid adventure stories. Right? To be able to have that childlike wonder again for a change. And to me, that's just absolutely fantastic. And I'm so glad we've got it with this. So we're going to, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, like, that was the thing that the original Star Wars did, is it ripped off the King Arthur hero's journey story, right? It took a basic story arc about going through trial and tribulation, coming out and saving the day and saving the princess.
Yep.
Right? But it flipped all of those things on their heads while still being that. And I feel like that's exactly what they did here. And they're nailing it. Like, they're taking a tried and true and going, now we're going to do Star Wars about it. Like, these characters aren't going to be your normal princesses. This one's actually a rebel general on the side.
Yep.
Like, or this scoundrel is actually a very caring person. He just only like knows a few people on the good side. He's only ever really known criminals his entire life. Like, he's from the dark side, always been in the dark side, in a dark empire. Oh, he met good people for the first time. He found his clan. Like, he was an outsider on the dark side. He's an insider on the light side.
Yep.
But like, that was the thing, is they took the things that work and made them new because they were bringing you a new universe, and they can do that. We've always said they can do that.
Well,
The other ones didn't.
And I think that Skeleton Crew makes like the perfect companion, if you will, to Andor. Andor's that like dirty and gritty version of Star Wars for like the grown-ups who want to take things seriously, and Skeleton Crew is about fun. Right? Like, they are the perfect two shows to have in the public consciousness at the same time. Because like, you want serious Star Wars, we've got Andor. You want goofy Star Wars, we got Skeleton Crew.
Dude, that's the weird thing. I don't see Skeleton Crew as that goofy.
I know, honestly, but it's like, it's the more kid-friendly version than Andor.
Right.
At least.
And I think that's like I know that's always the part about Star Wars that I've loved, is like, it's the kid-friendly version of The Expanse, of Terminator, of Star Trek, of all of the more complex, nuanced sci-fi that actually makes an effort to be realistic. Star Wars is the happy walk yourself in there. Like, it's the gateway sci-fi. And that's what it should be. It should always be that. It should never go full dark side.
That's it. But I love that they're giving us the option now. Right?
Well, and I don't think Andor's full dark side.
No, I don't think it's full dark side. I'm just saying it's more
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's more Law and Order Star Wars as opposed to like Police Academy Star Wars. Right?
True. And well, I would even go so far as to say like Skeleton Crew is only more kid friendly because it's just throwing kids in this universe.
True.
Like, that was kind of the part about Game of Thrones that a lot of people were surprised by, is like younger people liked it too. And it's like, well, yeah, a lot of the main characters, the longest living characters, started out as 10-year-olds.
Yep.
And so like, people that read those books also read Harry Potter. Like, that was their graduation book from Harry Potter. And some people started reading Harry Potter young.
Oh, P.D. York has entered the chat.
Oh.
We should probably ban that spammer, but you know, we'll let him go this time. Yeah, we'll report him for raiding his own channel.
False viewers.
What?
False view count.
Yeah, falsified view count. Yeah. No. It's all good, PD. Wish you were here. I hope you're enjoying your night with the missus. And yeah, bro, we miss you out here. So
we sure do.
So no, man, I think this is what we've been looking for a long time from Star Wars. And if this is the team building year of Star Wars, they're off to a good start. Like, I think this is the refresh that Star Wars actually kind of needed.
Dude, and if this is what Kathleen Kennedy was like, this is what I meant, you guys, then it's like, okay, fine. Because all I've ever asked for, like, I don't believe that our show has the ability to drive the political nature in Hollywood.
No.
I wish, but I will rein in my confidence.
Well, I mean, look, all I can say is, you know, Kathleen Kennedy, as far as we have been told, was very hands-off on Skeleton Crew. and it's
dude,
been
that's
successful.
What she should be.
Yeah.
Like, she's not a writer. She's a viewer. She's a producer. She's a talker. She's a backer, a money getter, a glad hander. Like, and obviously she's good at it because they paid for a good one again. They paid for Mandalorian. She didn't want to, but they did.
Yep.
And like, and Andor and Rogue One and Solo, like, the thing about her choices is really that she wants to bet on winners, and she's really willing to bet on anyone.
You
rather
know,
than like scouting and training winners and going, like, if it was me, if I'm Kathleen, and Kathleen, if you're listening, you can definitely steal this. It's a great idea. I get a bunch of new writers, all the interns from Harvard and everything, have them sit in a room and collectively watch all of the Star Wars media, take notes, copious notes, play all of the Star Wars video games, read all of the Star Wars books, set this up, like workshop it. It's going to take a couple of months to get all of this contained. Have them draw up a Star Wars fan website about what they think is the most clear description of Star Wars, from what is the Force, how does the Force work, what is the timeline, what are the big events, who are the main players, what are the Sith according to the old Sith, Palpatine Sith, post-Palpatine Sith. These are all variations that need to be known, because that's what got everybody else killed, is they didn't know this stuff.
Yep.
And you're Disney. You can literally afford to spend your millions of dollars on these kids studying the material. And then you go, now we have our most writers. And then if you want to throw in your new person who wants to be in charge and try and direct, like, you have so many people to accurately support them without them being angry white dudes from Idaho. Like, they can actually be internal subject matter experts that can help your directors and your writers, the main guys, have a new library. An inside library, because you guys have all the real notes and you have George's phone number.
Yeah,
I mean, would love to help those guys learn,
or even just
his
like
definition of the best. And then we would have canon.
Or, okay, here's another way we could do this too. Given Kennedy's ability to pick things that she thinks are going to win but actually lose, Kathleen Kennedy, come out to the horse races with me. In one afternoon, by betting the exact opposite of what you bet, I could have enough money to buy Star Wars completely, lock, stock, and barrel, and fund all the movies I wanted.
I almost agree with you, except
because every project she's
okay. So I was listening to Joe Rogan. He had on two directors. He had one he's had on before. Forget his name, but Tarantino.
Yeah.
And then Tarantino's best friend from like college age all the way till now. I forget his name, Adam something or other.
Okay.
But both of them huge directors. And one of the things they said is executives aren't paid to be creative. They're paid to be reliable. And
that's
so
true.
whenever you have a creative executive, unless they're subtle with their creativity,
it never goes well.
No one's ever going to challenge them. Like all of their pawns are paid to be their pawns. Like they're paid to be junior executive. They're paid to be supporting assistants and all that stuff. So like in that essence, they are like
they're doing their piece, right?
Well, it's a lopsided war. Like you can be the director, and she can be like, "Well, I really think you should add this in there," and then
and you're not going to get funded unless you follow her goals anyway, right? So, like that's ultimately the issue. Is the person who ultimately controls the purse strings and is trusted by the studio to pick winners when they decide to back their own stuff. There's very few people that can stand against them, right? The director can't say like, no, Kathy, that's stupid, because he just won't get funded for any of the stuff he wants to do.
No, the director can, but then everybody after the meeting will be like, yeah, like, I know you don't think like Kathleen, like, I really think you should do it. She said, everybody,
exactly,
for the rest of the month until it's added to the script.
That's it. And the problem is Kathy can't create, right? She thinks she can create, but she can't.
Right. And I really think it was that idea coming from the directors. They're like, no, we're like, especially like Tarantino. He's like, no, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's why my movies don't crush everything. But they crush because I know what I want to see. And it turns out other people like what I show them.
Yeah. On top of that,
and like
Tarantino's like the king of dialogue, so
right. But they're like, I recognize that a CEO of any business is not going to be the guy that invented the most useful part of the business. They're going to be the guy that found that guy.
Yeah,
they're going to be the guy that bet on that guy because they could go out on a limb. And so, like. Kathleen,
was it Roger Avery was the guy on Rogan? Yeah.
They did it together like a week ago.
Yeah.
And they were like very clear on the real dynamics of like, we call it politics. I call it corporate versus creative. Like, it turns out it's the oldest debate in the universe. It's the establishment versus the progressive. Like the ones that want to try something new versus this is how we've always done it. And like my problem with people that say this is how we've always done it, like, no. You've never had the internet before, so everything you think you know is wrong.
Well, and even just consider this. Just because it has worked in the past in media doesn't mean it's going to work tomorrow or the day after or the day after that. The internet allows us to see everything that's come before. So you can't just throw a new coat of paint on an old movie and expect everyone to be down with it.
The crazy thing is you can, but you can't change every single part of the movie that you want to change and then just accept or like hope everybody agrees with your new description of reality. Like, you tried. That's the part. Like, we're not coming at this from a point of ignorance, of like, oh, we've never seen this before. No, like we just got done with like 7 Star Warses, 7 tries. And we finally, on the 8th one, we got something new. That was the original method modernized. A new coat of paint, but like in the right spots. And I do mean that, like, we never cared about the main character being a white dude. We cared about the main character being a human, being somebody that we can possibly relate to. And the crazy part is, like, none of us can relate to Luke anymore. He was a rancher.
Yeah.
Like, that died way before me.
Yeah, like how many of us have, like, I'll be honest with you.
Orphans anymore. Like Batman was a thing of like, he was from the rich families, but like World War II, post World War II kids being orphaned, that was a pretty common thing. So like, that level of relevance in the Star Wars verse, like that's the part where Skeleton Crew nailed it. Rey was like, yeah, we'll just make her even more farmer, like, oh, really poor scavenger on a desert planet.
Yeah.
And then it's like Skeleton Crew was like, no, let's make them 100% like an American kid tossed into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And that's what these kids just did. They've never seen the real galaxy, despite being on one of the wealthiest planets in the real galaxy. Like, most people don't know how dark our world can get because they've never left the United States. Or even Canada. Like, if you don't leave Canada, or you don't go to the darker parts, you don't go hunting, you don't go to the woods, and you try to find out how hard it is to live in isolation. Like, that was the part about Rey. People are like, oh yeah, they love Naked and Afraid. And it's like, yeah, because they would never do that. Not because everybody's trying to get their chance and they're all practicing on their off time. Nobody goes camping that survivalist, except for Bear Grylls, who even didn't do it, right? Like, nobody is a that hard naturist except for the 10 people that are, and they're not doing enough podcasts to really elicit a following.
Yeah, they're busy doing their they're living out in the bushes. Why are they going to be on the internet bragging about it, right?
Right, and they're also not like training people to follow them to do it. They're not showing people, like, they're not giving how-tos to do it. They're like, no, the whole reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to be around you folks. So the less you know, the better. And it's like, again, I get why the internet told you that that's who we are as Americans. But, like, go talk to all of us. We're all working every single day. We are all exactly these kids' parents, right? We left money to order food. Sorry, I got to run tonight.
All right. You know what? We're going to call it here then, because I think we did 40 minutes, and I think that's pretty good on the episode. It's about the same, amount of time the episode ran for. So, guys, thank you so much. And, we're going to keep doing this every time it shows up. We've got something a little special planned in the next little while. So stay tuned. Take care, everybody.
Next
Bye-bye.
week.